Nnamdi Ogboko, Georgia's latest commitment, and a really big guy. Georgia's really pushing through here with a lot of relatively early commitments. So part of what's happening here is that the calendar has shifted, and I think in the near future it's going to shift a little bit more. But Ogboko, I had a buddy actually whose name was Nnamdi when I was younger. Ogboko, though, is he was not as big as this guy is. 6'4", 335 pounds from just outside of Raleigh. I can see why he is considered a three-star prospect. I can. I can also see why somebody like Georgia would really be interested in him because the size is legitimate. And when you look at the film, he's really big and strong. I mean, that's pretty evident. 6'4", 335. Has a huge lower body, but he does, like a lot of young guys, prospects, he stands up a lot when he plays defensive line. But he can take on a blocker or two. In high school, it looks pretty easy for him. Anything that comes at him, it's in trouble. We're gonna see what happens over time when he is developed by this Georgia staff who has a way of developing defensive linemen. I mean, we've seen what they've done with Devontae Wyatt, Jordan Davis, Trayvon Walker, lots of different guys who've been Warren Brinson, who have been very successful in their time at Georgia. And we're going to see with Ogboko what happens. But he definitely does need to be developed. And I know Georgia gets obviously a lot more information than I do. They're taking these kids. But he's raw. He's a raw player. He's not polished. And I don't think there's a real problem with that at a spot that Georgia's done such a good job of developing over time. He took officials to Florida and Carolina. I'm not, Florida's had a good run here lately, but I think Georgia's success at that position speaks for itself. But he's gonna have to, develop. I mean, I just don't see how there's any question about it. If you watch the highlight films, there's no question about it. Nigerian Nightmare. But Nnamdi Ogboko, he looks like he could be a lot of trouble over the next few years. But I get the 3-star evaluation. It does, it's what it is. It's an evaluation. It doesn't mean that's how you wind up. Make sure you're taking advantage of Doordash. The code is DawgPostSummer, and you're going to get 50% off your first order. The link is down below. 50% off your first order with Doordash. There's a slew of places in Atlanta and Athens that you can take advantage of this, but do so now. As we go along through into the summer, they will deliver ice cream to you, as we've been talking about lately. But this now, Georgia's really got a stranglehold of the 2020 class rankings as we barrel towards what will be another signing day in December. I don't know if we're going to wind up with signing days continuing like this in the future. I look at where the Dogs are at right now, recruiting wise. They're past 20 commitments. You've guys got guys like Raiola, Dwight Phillips Jr. There are some exceptional players in this class. I mean, someone the size of the young man that just committed to Georgia, someone with the skill of Raiola, someone with the speed of Dwight Phillips. There's a lot to like in this class. They're going to take a specialist. So this Georgia program continues to recruit at a high level. It's not shocking considering how good they are at it, but they're not running away necessarily with this recruiting class ranking, but they're 21 commitments into this thing. Like Notre Dame's got 21 commits. They're not going to come close to Georgia. Florida's at 16 commits, they would really have to turn it on, the Gators, to catch Georgia. I mean, it's probably not happening. Everybody else, Alabama is not currently in the top 10, so we know that's not going to continue. And so, Alabama's probably the legitimate threat if there is one, but they have so few commitments, it's hard to really know where things are going to be at for them by the time things are said and done. Florida certainly has gotten it going, but that program has been a mess for a while, and it's going to be no one class, no one recruiting week or day changes a program. You need to really string things together, but this Georgia class right now, last year we knew that Georgia would not have the number one class because of how good Alabama's class was. But if you're the Dogs and you are, consistently throwing up, top 3 classes, the only other program that's been doing that lately has been Alabama. I mean, last year Georgia and Bama were 1-2. In 22, Georgia and Bama were 2-3. In 2021, Alabama, Ohio State, that's the only time Georgia's not been in the top 3 lately. They were number 4 that year, but it's been Georgia and Bama who have been, on these collision courses. My suspicion is, unless something odd happens, Alabama will continue to be in the discussion for the top class. But this Georgia program is still waiting on multiple 5-star kids to make their decision. Now, you're sitting there at 21. Georgia's they've got 28 upperclassmen. So 28 seniors and juniors in this season coming up. So there will be a fair amount of kids that are leaving. The question is how many. Right now Georgia's at 85. I mean, it's literally right on the number for scholarships. That's not anything to ever worry about, just because they know what they're doing up there. I love that people get so worked up about that. It's not an issue. But this team, this program, if they continue to recruit like this, it's going to be hard to stop them. No one's going to remember this day. It's not, when you're signing a 3-star kid, getting a commitment from a 3-star kid. Georgia got 7 3-star kids. That's probably the bulk of what they're gonna sign at that level. And that's if they stay there too. But you've got KJ Bolden who's still out there. There are plenty of guys who are on Georgia's radar. And the other thing is too, y'all, is that my suspicion is that Bolden will go to Georgia. We'll see. But at that stage, minimum, you've got 3 guys in the top consensus top 10. 3. Nobody else has 1. I mean, Ohio State's got 1. That's it. So there's a lot still to go here for Georgia. But, with Raiola going to Buford, that's a big deal. You got a slew of IMG kids that are out there. It's going to be challenging for Georgia to not be number 1 at the end of the day here. Ohio State is a team to watch. Alabama, but Georgia continues to add linebackers who are gifted in special linebackers. We're going to see what happens, across the country with kids who are high level players who are picking Georgia, between Georgia and other schools. A bunch of kids at IMG. Georgia's done really well at IMG over the years. But today being Ogboko's day, again, stands up a little bit much. They'll have to get that out of him, and I'm certain that they will. Big kid, very strong. But, when you jump from North Carolina high school football to the SEC, it's going to take time. He did not seem uber athletic, but I only saw what I saw. It was only about 3 minutes of highlights. You'd rather see someone play in person. But if guys, you don't have to be real athletic to try real hard. And when you're the size of of this guy, trying real hard is going to make it really hard for the other team. But I think, Georgia's coming close to solidifying this top, recruiting class in 24. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But there's a lot of big fish still left out there for them to go get.